Nuance with Nikki. My name is Nikki, and this is a video about why the Springboks are more than a rugby team and why they're the heart of our nation. This was the second part of a video I made about a song called He Call Me Boka. I hope you check it out so that you can understand. And let's pick up where I left off. Die poppe gaan dans is a South African Afrikaans idiom. It means there's gonna be trouble. The literal or direct translation is the dolls will dance or the puppets are gonna dance. It's kind of like the English idiom, you're cruising for a bruising, buddy. The image it brings to mind is of puppets dancing like this. It's South African parents kind of giving you a veiled threat that they're going to give you a spanking if you don't stop your bad behavior. And so when we say die poppe gaan dance, that is a warning to the Springbok rivals. When a Breino or a Kleerling or a Colored sings the song, it's actually a shout out to a classic Boere song, an Afrikaans song.
Hier kom die Ossie. Kiwis. Engelse. Hanne. Maar waar is die manne?
Our legendary comedian, Mr. Leon Schuster, has always worked very hard to join our nation together through his quirky, funny music and his spoofs. He did that in a very difficult time. He culturally brought us all together. So, in a way, over here, this is colored people and Boere who've had a lot of strife between them joining together.
Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in the face of all types of discrimination.
Nelson Mandela, president, security guard, lawyer, was also a boxer. He knew that rugby and the Springboks was once a symbol of white supremacy in our nation. And so the history of the colored people and the Boere having conflict over this is something I will explore in our relationship with New Zealand. They're a very important glue that holds us together too. Okay, which is why there are more South Africans that support New Zealand than there are citizens of New Zealand today, and the majority of those are colored, right? But Steven Spielberg used the story in his movie Invictus. I remember this moment. I remember never wanting to watch rugby because it was for those people, the racist ones. And soccer was for us, okay? Anybody who was anti-racist. I remember the first rugby match I watched. And that was the first time I remember being proud of being South African. I didn't know before that a South African could have anything to be proud of. What I remember about that period as an 8-year-old is that my whole nation, no matter where they stood on the political spectrum, had this cloud of shame over us. And it was that match. It was that match that changed not the nation here, but the nation here. The Springboks aren't just a sports team to us. I don't care about sports, but I love the Springboks. What you're going to see here is an interaction between white and black.
Springboks.
I like soccer myself.
What do you know what they say about soccer? It's a gentleman's game played by hooligans.
It's a gentleman's game played by hooligans, he says.
On the other hand, rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen.
Okay, so that's the idea that we, the brown people, were hooligans playing a gentleman's game. These notions of rugby as a gentleman's game, or I mean, as a hooligan's what? A hooligan's game played by gentlemen goes deep into the South African psyche. It should be noted here that to colonialists, South Africa was the most precious colony, and so they only sent their best. They only sent what they considered the creme de la creme, the top-notch white people, and so they often sent gentle folk as well. In many colonial phases in South Africa, white people were vetted before they could get in, as were others, such as African Americans who got honorary white status. They had to be vetted to not be a threat, for instance, to the apartheid government, right? So that's one of the dynamics that's happening here. This is from the movie Invictus by Steven Spielberg, which tries to capture the psychological shift of what happened through that one rugby match. So in Spielberg's film, he depicts Mandela here engaging with white people and having a meeting, assuring that he's not going to turn foul and turn enemy to them.
Autocratic leadership. You risk alienating your cabinet and your party.
Your advice is duly noted.
Madiba, the people want this. They hate the Springboks. They don't want to be represented by a team they cheered against all their lives.
Yes, I know, but in this instance, the people...
So part of being South African is that if you were anti-racism, you would cheer against any team representing our country and you would support the opposing team. That's why Brazil is so important to us, because Brazil became our soccer team in lieu of our own. And so the Springboks were seen as an enemy of togetherness.
Please, welcome President Mandela.
And here, Mr. Madiba has the challenge of asking a black audience to support the Springboks too, as a symbol of our unity. This psyche ran deep, and it was a very big ask. It was a very difficult ask. As a child in Hillbrow, I was walking distance from this match the day that it happened in Ellis Park, Johannesburg. There the Springboks look at the mighty, mighty All Blacks from New Zealand. The first rugby match I ever watched, in order to honor Madiba, in order to hope for a nation that would once be together. They had come so far after being kicked out of rugby in the world, out of not being allowed to play because we were the naughty corner. We were this big, bad, racist country. What you see there is people raising the new South African flag. Early in this movie, they were raising the apartheid flag. Guys, on this day, we didn't even know which anthem to sing. Do we sing the white people's anthem or do we sing the black people's anthem? I believe the number 6 on his, and this was all of us sitting at home watching on our TVs. I believe the number 6 on his jersey might be a reference to his prison numbers 46664. And there stand our beloved rivals, New Zealand, with whom we have more than a century of our relationships. The first one to shake the finger in the face of apartheid, to refuse honorary white status, which is why they won the hearts of the colored people. At first, we were the only race they were allowed to play. You can see why people not quite knowing the words, some trying to learn it. The Springboks made sure that they learned the words of the national anthem of South Africa at that stage. A whole nation stood in awe. People of every race, every tribe, every color and every creed. Sorry, I'm not faking this, guys. I remember this moment clear as day. I remember it more than Princess Diana's death. I remember it more than the Twin Towers. It was the biggest moment for me as a South African. And this, New Zealand's biggest way of showing respect to another nation, of honoring the warrior in you. However, when you first see it, it's very intimidating. It was the first haka I'd ever seen in my life, and I was shivering in my damn boots.
It's an honor to receive that haka. Even though it's a very ferocious, I suppose, the way you deliver it, you're honoring those opponents that you're coming up against. So we as the Māori people are very worried that we're losing our language, we're losing our tikanga. But at schools such as this one here, they are very strong, and we hope that it goes into the future. So here again, the haka will take us forward. The haka you have taken as the All Blacks to the world. Every time you get up and do the haka, no matter where, you represent the god of war. And so as you stand, you also represent your people. You, as the warrior, are the shelter of our people.
They're speaking about rebirth there. They're speaking about the hairy man who made the sun come out. It's a wonderful legend to go and read about. And to me, New Zealand were the hairy man who made the sun come out.
Well, that's the challenge that's laid down by the Maoris before going into battle.
But could they win? Could they restore the wound in our nation through one game in a way that we could understand in all languages? Guys, there were councils who put themselves together to learn how do we, in different languages, create some commentary for this game. And what the Springboks are fighting for here is more than a cup. They're asking a colored player now to lead them in prayer. But the real question was, could they make us think that we were worth anything, that we were worth fighting for? That is not a small thing there. What's happening there with that little black boy being held up, that is symbolic. And there, for the first time, a cry of united joy. I believe that's PJ Powers singing there. It was it was a huge moment in human history. The most racist country in the world making a commitment to each other for the first time. So when you see images like this, you may think you are just looking at a crazy sports fan.
Hier kom kak. Kom, ons het hulle. Conversion. Kom papa. Kom papa.
I see a black Zulu-speaking man wearing felis, shoes associated with white Afrikaners. I see him feeling so invested in the game that he feels like he's playing himself, something he would never have done 40 years ago, and neither would I.
Hey, kom. Oh, God. Hier kom kak.
His wife is begging him to get off her white furniture.
Hey, Tom! Hey, Tom! Hey, Tom! Dankie voor 1912. 1912. Wat gaan jullie...
He's speaking in Afrikaans as if the Bokke can even hear him. And today, born free children who don't understand the history of what this means can still feel that energy. They feel a fraction of the joy that we felt in that moment. So once again, in 2023, when the ANC had betrayed the legacy of South Africa, had created racial divisions again, had created poverty, left us in darkness of load shedding, the Springboks pulled through. And we couldn't handle it. We could not handle it. They had won the World Cup just before COVID, so we never got to enjoy that. We never got to feel the joy of it. So as we came out of COVID, out of a poverty we'd never known, as a nation, it was up to them to give us hope. And the same Springboks who had grown up and had watched this they knew what this meant to us, all of us.
Oh, that's God right there. There was nothing in our favor.
We needed this win more than any other nation. We had a need in our belly, in our gut, in our sacral chakra, if you want, to win this, just to feel okay, just to feel that we could walk with some semblance of pride as we felt like failures as a nation. People in South Africa had spent some of their life savings just to go to France to watch that game because the rand was so low at the time.
As a Springbok supporter, I feel like I also need to get paid because we were all playing today. We all played today as fans, as supporters.
The river runs deep, and there's so much more I could say. I wouldn't even know where to begin in terms of how invested a whole nation is. But this is not a game. This is not a sport to us. This is a proposal. This is an engagement. This is a promise. And this is a symbol of our hope. Thank you for joining Nuance with Nikki. We are through. We are through. We are all right, but we are through. We are through. We are through. On your screens now, a young boy, Siamtanda Kolisi, Sia Kolisi, looks up and watches the Springboks in hope. This is how it started. How did it end? Once again, Sia on your right, and you've got Faf de Klerk on your left. Both boys watched that rugby match that I told you about. Both boys meeting the men pictured and depicted in that movie.
Collide there. De Klerk doesn't know that play is dead, and it's like a couple of punchy little bulldogs going at it. Just hungry, isn't he, Faf de Klerk? He knows he's made the error. Just wants to make up for it.
But de Klerk can coast into the corner.
De Klerk's claim will be that he was trying to charge the ball down.
Growing up in a country where men carry the weight of knowing that tonight might be the night, this morning might be the morning, where they have to stand man alone to protect their wives, their children, their mothers, and their families against whatever criminal may enter their home. They're accustomed to being outnumbered, outsized, outmanned, outplanned, and coming out alive. Faf de Klerk here is displaying the qualities of the typical South African man who bears that weight. And as such, he smiles in the face of men taller than him. He smiles when he's outnumbered. He lets nothing stop him. He is like any of our brothers, cousins, fathers and sons.
Rather taking the law into his own hands, and that was something of a physical mismatch. Fluff is grinning from behind the gum guard.
He's taken towards touch. Come off. Well, we thought it could spill over. Emotions running very, very high.
We didn't expect it to be public.
And mountains, deserts and plains of this country, people of diversity stand united as we come together to face a foe. And as we do battle on the field, remember that we fight for more than victory. We fight for each other and for this great country. Boka, we stand behind.
uns Eki Bokawa Bokawa Bokawa
Afrika. Vandaag is de dag. Namhlanje kunjeke, sidlinjeke. Diniphatela ungutu lwendaba ezichukumisa ingcaka yengcambi yenhliziyo ye-Afrika. Indaba zomanyano, zoloyiso, zokuzinga. Ifikile i-Rugby World Cup. Ibuyele ekhaya. Sisizwe nenkokeli yethu, uCaptain Siyapolisi. Sithatha intshinga yesine ngokukhalipha. Siyokwenza imbalenga zange bonwa phantsi kwelanga. Sizawujila sitshotsha madoda. Singqongqe singqumhlele. Siqhensa sizomphelela siqhensa unongelepha. The Rugby World Cup Trophy. Mayibuye intshinga e-Afrika.
Yes,